The biggest bail spot in a mixed doubles end usually is your middle player's first stone if you have the hammer, where you've already seen 3 stones come down. Once you get to halfway through the end, there's so few rocks already left to throw that bailing is really difficult to do. You may only get 1 chance at it if you wait any longer than that.
I'm not sure it's shot here, but a pretty good result for Persinger Plys. And as Shuster talks through what he wants to do.
Best guess is yellow's 1, but it's very close and no more than that at least.
So he moved the mixed doubles jumble. That's a technical term coined by Tyler George. The mixed doubles jumble. He shifted it around, left himself frozen on his own.
I hope I could get a better term attributed to myself
than a jumble.
The mixed doubles.
Was Tyler
jumble.
George your first coined the mixed doubles jumble? Shuster now with his last stone, his first win. Geving will have the last for the team. Like most in mixed doubles, they have the female players throwing 1 and 5, and the male players throwing 2, 3, and 4. Just wants to get on the corner of this one. She does successfully. Now it's a question of, I think Chris thinks he can chisel this in there.
It looks like you should be able to get some action maybe on both of those stones to move in a little bit with that little bit of gear effect, that drag. Might be able to move both those yellows just a little bit closer to the button. He's playing some weight, obviously, with this broom.
Yeah, exciting shot. Good look there. What he sees from the hat. Not much of that yellow. He's trying to hit about as much as he can see. Chris throwing. Manages to chase that 6-second peel. And
there it is. It's 2.
Yeah. A good result.
It hurts my groin muscles watching these players chasing 6-second peels and catching up halfway down the sheet. That I remember that feeling of trying to jump up quick and having your slider, slipping out, and
yeah,
that was not a fun feeling. I'll leave that to
the players,
Plyses and the Dropkins of the field, and Vicky too. Throws them every bit as hard as the men. We know that.
Yeah, well, if you're of a certain age, you're always taught as a young player not to jump up and chase your own dog. Make sure you finish the delivery. But here in mixed doubles, the top players have learned to finish their delivery and chase. So it is a fairly athletic endeavor at times, that chase, especially when you throw it as hard as Chris does or Vicky.
There's a number of things in doubles you do that you're taught not to. Always hit the broom. Well, I don't have one, so I can't do that either.
I was never really taught that, though, Tyler.
It's a guide anyways.
I thought it was a vague guide.
It's smart play there by Geving and Shuster, just limiting the damage, knowing they really didn't have much else. You could play the run, but if you miss that, you're giving up probably 4 with the open hit on that stone on the outside. At least 3, I guess, with that rock. Not going over the top of the 4-foot, but
so first end, Vicky Persinger will have a draw for 2. He's 4-foot would do it.
And Vicky kind of in semi-retirement, only playing the doubles game. Her talent on the women's side sorely missed as one of our best shot makers, but had a good conversation with Vic in the off-season a little while back, and she's where she wants to be. She likes doing what she's doing and can always come back if she wants to. But that door will always be open for somebody with that type of talent. Looks like this is going right to the lid. Well done by Vic.
So the draw for 2, and that will make the score after this opening end. 2-0 for Persinger Plys over Geving Shuster. We'll be back with the second end in just a moment.
Just because you're not a professional athlete doesn't mean that you should accept less. The beauty about what Thorne does is our product quality is the same whether they're in the athletic line or whether they're just for the everyday person. Thorne has kept true to never compromising on quality, never compromising on efficacy, never compromising on safety for not only athletes but for everyone who would use their products.
We're back with the second end here. Persinger Plys with a 2-0 lead over Geving Shuster. And it's a good time to talk about your club's website. There's a chance it might be clunky and unworkable, or not. But if it is, and you're tired of your club relying on social media for information because your website doesn't work particularly well, there's curling management software. The one your club has been waiting for is here. Check it out. All right, so we open with a relatively routine deuce there for Persinger Plys. Really started with set up by that.
That's basically what it was, yeah. Throwing the high hard one and scooting both of those rocks sideways and basically pushing every other rock out of the forefoot. That big weight weapon that Plys has, that was perfectly executed and really left those stones in a spot where team Geving and Shuster had no choice but to just peel one counter out and make Persinger draw the forefoot for the second point, which she did perfectly.
Plys played for a number of years. Younger, certainly a player who has always been able to throw big weight easily. So a cap off there. Aileen Geving, not really the results she was hoping for, but interesting setup here actually, Tyler, with two red stones deep in the house.
Yeah, those are the kind of ones in the men's and women's games that you're a little worried about, the stragglers for extra points. In the doubles game, it's really hard to make those count because you just continue to pile those rocks in the forefoot. So with that center guard being there, anything that's thrown fours, you're going to have to contend with and leave those ones in the back of the house be. So unless this goes deep and gets to the open.
Well, this open for those open on the other side. John thinks he is.
Yeah, you could play this one of two ways. You can continue to draw and use both of those for backing if you get to the top of the button, or you can play the double. You can't play with a lot of weight because of where that center guard is, but you move both those rocks out. All three are behind the tee, but only one of them's in the forefoot, so it is a little dangerous than playing draw game for Persinger and Plys. So it's like Schuster's going to at least try to move one of these, hit that back stone.
Instead of playing that on the stop tile when I was concerned about leaving in a pocket of structure. And Geving holds it. It's close. If you hold it enough. Result wasn't, he was concerned about leaving a catcher's mitt, I guess, Tyler, with the outturn, but he didn't think he could see quite enough of it to make the double versus just rolling over.
Yeah, trying to make at least that number 3 counter count for a point later in the end. A little surprised, I guess, that if you're going to do that anyways, why not just use both of them as backing to go to draw? Because you're still only sitting one. You don't really have backing now, except for your own stone. Whereas if you threw that draw, you'd have both of those yellows to use for chain stones. So.
Plys will come down and try to leave that red sit in front. Try to see how much of that he can see. Confirmation, John thinks he can move the yellow stone on the Persinger Plys on the button. Thinks he can move it far enough. Edge of 4 is on the well, I know he wants to, but it's at least.
Yeah, he really wants to avoid his own if he can, no matter where this rolls. He would like to stay in the vicinity of the fourth. You hit 3/4 and just barely miss your own and sit in front of that red, then you're leaving at least a slash. But they're only playing it to the bump. Now, if he throws for shot rock, Vicky seems to think that it's red. That pile of, this is a rare occasion, actually, Dean, for mixed doubles, that there are 7 rocks in the house. Every single one of them is at least back 4 behind the button.
That's an unusual group, and I think he misses created an unusual end.
Yeah, the one that we like to shoot the mixed doubles broadcasters with. I'm not sure which turn he's throwing based on the grip. And now sitting 3 all behind the tee line, and we're with where that number one counter is, there's not a whole lot you can do to try to make any of those other reds count. So this is probably going to be a situation where they're trying to just essentially, there's no skips deuce and doubles, but last 2 rocks deuce at least. Shuster, I would think, is probably just going to throw this to a little cap on that number one counter and try to sit in the pocket between the two. Could also just throw it to the top of the button, but with how much it swings, it's hard to leave it in a spot where they can't dig it out. Now, if you do that, you'd have to throw it to the opposite side of the top of the button and show a little bit on that side, so pull it into the jam, but
this one home here for mine and Wendy, I think.
yeah, this is really cool. Needs to try to stay on at least 2/3 of it to have it be backing. But the right side at least. If you could move this stone a couple of inches and sit shot, we'd be happy, but even just dead freeze is going to make it extremely difficult for Geving and Shuster to score more than one. So Vicky had great draw weight in the first with her final stone. We got draw for 2. We'll see if she can lock one on this stone and possibly even move it an inch or 2 to sit shot rock.
Persinger last shot, her team, Persinger Plys, 2-0 last shot here in the second round.
Outturn once again for Vicky too.
First Plys using a less hit than that, what we call knifing or gliding.
Yeah, this is not going to get up there. Really gliding right back to that pocket, so should be a draw for 2 now for Geving to try to tie this up and really throw it to it's area that you need to get to get there.
Use your own even for a couple inches.
Anything no, you're on the inside of that yellow all day, right?
Yeah, but this is a danger shot too, where because of how weight sensitive it is, if you throw anything back 12, back line, it runs so much straighter than the draws. So you don't want to throw backing, but put room down for the clean draw, or it ends up hanging out wide. So you have to make the decision one way or the other. If you're playing for the backing, you really need to cut the broom down. If you're throwing just a clean draw, then you have to put it somewhere where you're planning on going right to the button.
Geving, last shot, draw for 2. Waiting for it to curl. John likes the weight.
Yeah, this looks just fine. It's going to be right to the nose of that stone. Move it just enough to get to.
So there it is, 2 for Shuster and Geving. That will knot the score at 2-2. We'll be back in just a moment with third end action. We're back here, USA Curling 2023 Mixed Doubles National Championship. Geving Shuster versus Persinger Plys, 2-2 after 2 ends between 2 undefeated teams and teammates in Shuster and Plys. So it's interesting matchup. That's one of the odder dynamics, I guess, of mixed doubles, Tyler, in that Shuster and Plys spend most of the season battling it out on the same team and now face each other.
It's kind of hard to avoid that with doubles, with all the competitive players that are doing double duty and playing both either men's or women's and doubles. So the short amount of time that I played doubles before retiring, so many of those games were against old teammates. And really though, Dean, those are the games you want to win more than any others, because the bragging rights for the season with your men's or women's squad means a lot with all that time you spend together on the road. So it's like an exaggerated effect of the regular curling crowd where so many of your friends are playing. But now these are the ones that you're actually traveling and playing with. So these guys want to win this game very badly so they can hang it over each other's heads the rest of the season.
Geving a little strong there with that draw. Chaps off. Really always a little better being short and top 4 versus right frozen or chapping off. But we'll see how they respond here in this end.
And talking to the players too, they felt that last night's draw was the fastest one that they'd had yet, which is a bit of a surprise. A 4-draw day, usually you're kind of getting into the buck when you get to the late draws. Doubles games, obviously not as many rocks thrown and a shorter amount of time for the games. So usually maintains a little bit better than you'd see for a men's or women's draw, but still unusual to see that the night draw is the one where they're getting the most speed. So not quite as fast this morning. Looks like it's back to where it's been for most of the tournament so far.
USA Curling head ice technician Sean Olson prepared the surface here. Here's scores from other sheets. Our sheet B, it's actually 2-2, not quite updated. If we look across here, on sheet C is 1 for Ryan Smith over Moore's Wheeler. And the Hamiltons are out ahead 5-0 quickly over Cott and Fott. Fountain and Cott, that's a 5-0 lead for the Hamiltons now. And Burr, it is now 2-1 Rohrbach Skevy over Todd Burr and Regan Burr.
Yeah, the result so far that raises the eyebrow would be Hamilton getting that 5-0 lead and maybe turning the tides for the rest of the week. But I remember in the 2017 mixed doubles trials that we played them early in the tournament, just ran them off the sheet. They looked like everything was a mess, struggling. I think they may have had a losing record. And then once they turned it around, obviously, when they got that momentum going, they never stopped, and they ended up winning the whole thing in the Olympics. So that may be the game that turns that team around and sleeping giant. He has a separate free number that you can call when he's just hanging out on his couch. just a little bit on the outside. So if you play the freeze, it has to cross over all the way to at least nose, if not over bury on that freeze. You can also just throw, I'm trying to figure out if there's a spot on the side of the forefoot you can throw too that doesn't leave an in off the pocket of 2 yellow stones.
Any concern with a freeze, if you make it perfect, there's sort of room for 2. Can be answered with a freeze to make it to reduce really difficult.
Now the good thing for Persinger and Plys is that you're not really afraid of the rock placement because you still have hammer. You're going to have one more shot no matter what.
This looks pretty good.
Yeah, they need to finish this a little bit more though. God, they should have just hammered that right back to that stone. Now both of those yellows go. They kind of just let it stop in the exact spot where both yellows will leave pretty easily. So a bit surprised that they didn't just hammer that all the way back. You know, if that gets to that freeze on the line it was on, yeah, you're leaving a freeze for your opponent when you're throwing it against the people.
Shuster, I think, will take on this run. Red, yellow, hopefully one other yellow for him. If it catches it, do you think it will catch the rock on the button, the yellow stone on the button?
Oh, absolutely. There's a little bit of drag there too because of where they're set up. So if you want to hit this about 3/4 on the high side, both those yellows will spill easy. So yeah, just a little bit of a mistake with rock placement there.
Geving throwing the in-turn, just right down, trying to hit the, was red, yellow. That's what they're trying for here. Let's see how it comes off. And there it is as Tyler drew it up.
That wasn't too tough one for the broadcaster. That was angled absolutely perfectly to make that shot. It's one of those ones that looks really cool, but it's actually a really easy shot.
Hit that rock just about anywhere, and that's going to happen.
Yeah, it's just if it stops a half a foot short of where it ended up, or they sweep it all the way back to that red stone in the back of the fours, then that shot's not there. But they ended up sweeping it exactly to the spot where that run was a gimme.
So now Vicky Persinger with a draw facing 3. Not a particularly difficult draw, but somehow when you're, in my experience, drawing against 3 is much more difficult than drawing for 3. So here we go. Persinger, last shot, third end, 2-2 game.
It's just cleaning this in so far, liking the speed. Looks like it's gliding a little bit though.
Running a little bit here. She did draw the full floor.
And now it's turning over.
Now it's starting to grind up.
Enough to
Plys
get there.
Trying to knife it over.
Just enough.
By a fraction, I think. Shuster indicates it is the Persinger Plys stone. So 1 for Persinger Plys. That leaves a score of 3-2 after 3 ends. We'll be right back with the 4th end after this.
Twin Cities Orthopedics is ready to go with more doctors, specialty services, and convenient urgent care locations. Ready, set, TCO.
We're back with 4th end action of the 2023 USA Curling Mixed Doubles Nationals. I'll put that CEO hat back on for a moment and tell curlers that member clubs can use that video as a follow-up when people tend to learn to curl. It was actually the idea for it, I will say, came from contacting Mopac last season. So put that video together during the Olympics. But a lot of clubs have success sending that in a follow-up email with a link to someone who comes out to try to help with
that conversion rate. Vicky Persinger, her first, a little heavy and over curling again. We've seen that a lot from both Persinger and Geving this morning. First shot a little bit heavy and curling a little more, and leaving stones at the back of the ring. So this will be Aileen Geving with her team's first here in the fourth end. They have hammer. They're trailing 3-2. Geving throwing this out turn. Watch John Shuster put the brush down. It's interesting, when John first started playing doubles, Tyler, a lot of people would say, oh, he's a skip, a lifetime skip. He can't be much of a brusher, but John's a pretty solid brusher.
He takes a lot of pride in his sweeping too.
Yeah.
And even in the men's game, he would take any opportunity he could get to jump out and sweep a rock that extra 20 feet coming out to the hog line. And that was never an issue for us on his team. If he wants to take over for a bit, we got no problem handing the reins. So here he gets to let it out of his system a little bit more. And credit to John and Matt Hamlin both too. The guys not familiar with that, how hard they've worked physically. This is the slimmest I've ever seen Matt. He says it's the first time he's been under 200 pounds as long as he can remember. But you know, these guys, even with all the success that they've had, they're not resting on their laurels. They're still working hard, getting in the gym, and you know, there's a reason why they stay on top of the podium. They're never satisfied. They want to get back on the podium at the Worlds, back on the podium at the Olympics, and yeah, they have that gold medal that they'll always have, but they're still looking for more, and they're still putting in all the work to do it.
Certainly are, and Persinger and Schuster, along with Hamilton and John Landsteiner, will represent the United States at the Men's Worlds in Ottawa. They get underway April 1st. Anybody in that area can reasonable driving distance. Certainly will be a great event. Our junior nationals also get underway on the East Coast, in Boston at the Broomstones Curling Club in Wayland, Mass. They get underway April 3rd this year. We're currently watching our junior men's and junior women's teams battle it out at the Worlds. Really tough event, and our teams have been resilient this week. Hoping they can both finish strong. Junior Worlds is a tough one, Tyler. I mean, the top 6 don't get relegated, but there are lots of good junior teams and a lot of parity in the junior field, as opposed to, say, 10, 15 years ago. A lot of the emerging countries were able to put together, a team of good junior players, good young players. So it's great for curling, but means that when you play in those World Championships, it's not easy.
Yeah, some interesting results in those tournaments too. The Canadian women are 2-6 at the World Championships, and I don't remember seeing that at almost any point that a Canadian team is at the bottom of the field, and it's unfortunate, obviously, for the Canadian squads that end up in that spot, because there's so much pressure on anybody wearing the maple leaf at a World Championship event. So you always want to see those teams do well, but it's not a bad thing for the curling that these results are happening, that it's not just the same teams at the top all the time, and now these B and C level teams are getting better every year. Events like the Pan-Continental Championships, where we get to see those teams compete and see how far they've come over the last 5 years, trying to get into that World Championship picture. These are all good things for curling, no matter how tough it is on those Canadian squads. It's never a bad thing to see other countries getting these W's and advancing on the rest of the field.
One thing it does mean for USA Curling, there are some advantages to hosting WCF events that I won't get into too much here, but we are, if there are communities and clubs that are interested in running a WCF event, we're certainly open to working with you and supporting the WCF as they find those sites.
Count on your buddy Phil Bravnik to come in with the stats here too. Just a text from him saying the Canadian women had 1 win last year. So I couldn't remember the last time, and it was 1 year ago. But that tells you how my brain works now.
So that's, yeah, certainly. It's certainly surprising to see Canadian teams struggling like that when you think of the depth of the field in Canada and the number of good teams. But I think it just shows you that if you come up to any World Championship at this point in in curling at any world championship, you have a not so, when you're off 1 week, it can, you can't sneak your way through the field with your B game. And
Bill is unaware that he's made a grave error and texting me about this. Now we know he's listening, and he may end up having to do a remote broadcast of these games as long as he's paying attention.
So Shuster with the double run of sorts, and now they're line 2 at the back. Geving Shuster, certainly 2 that can exit the rings in a hurry. And see what Plys elects to play here.
As a salaried employee, that's kind of in his contract, right? That they call it. He doesn't have much choice that he has to do the broadcast.
I think that's probably true.
Yeah, those 2 very accessible here for Chris. Don't have hammer, but it's a preventative measure as much as anything else, just removing those stones. And you may be able to make them look at a few on a final draw in a couple shots too. Chris is really playing this pretty soft, and
he may not be playing the double.
Extremely close to the hog line there. I've already called him on 1 violation this week, and that one was borderline.
Stir up a hog line controversy here. So throwing this quietly, he's just going to try to move. He doesn't have to remove them from the rings far enough.
A little surprised there. Unless they're sitting 3rd or 4th now, I guess, then I'm not sure why they played that weight. If they're confident that rock in the top 12s on the left side of the overhead is out counting the red one on the ring on the other side, then I understand the weight call a little more. But if they weren't sitting 3rd at the time, then it's kind of a bit of a surprise on the weight, because those would have easily gone out.
Yeah, and it would seem if you remove both, the most you're giving up in this end is 2, and that takes a good shot by Geving. And if you have a good shot out of Persinger, you're probably not giving up 2. But 2 is in play now. Comes Shuster trying to double. Geving's got the brush down. There's the double made.
And spins up a little bit.
And rolls half tucked behind that guard.
That's how I can tell from watching John when he's really on his game. There's a little bit of a flare on that in-turn in the middle of the sheet going inside out when he's not quite at the top of his game. When that one's coming out that clean, he's making that particular shot, then that's how you can tell John's feeling it. He knows he's got another shot in the bag going right now.
I've always thought that inside-out in-turn is the hardest shot for most right-handers. Easy to get that shot going.
I always felt the out-turn that way was for me, because I had the rock under my right eye all the time. So it's not really lined up when you're sliding across. It's like you're throwing the rock across your body.
So the inside-out out-turn is for you is the hardest.
I think so, yeah.
To me, that's the easiest shot on the sheet, Tyler. But you have a gold medal and I don't. But so we'll go with what you're suggesting. I've seen my inside-out in-turn, and it's not always pretty. So here comes Persinger now. She wants to lock this one in to at least make the draw for 2 difficult.
That looks really good.
She will. Locks that on there. Now is there any room for John's going to talk about this shot? It doesn't look like there's any room to grab enough for the button. Looking at the in off. There's the one danger here is you can flip out your own at the back and you don't move too thin.
Yeah, you're not going to play this with a ton of weight. You can make it firm probably. That's the safest way to play.
Sure, if anything, they'll hit it. Probably play to hit it thicker. They can always roll over. Maybe thin is probably the only way a real mistake happens.
I would expect just firm weight. Whatever weight's going to hit that, it'll roll dead right up to the side of their own without a lot of pace.
So Aileen Geving, her last shot as we reach the midpoint of this game. It's the last shot of the 4th end in an 8-end game. She does have a shot here for 2, a difficult one, but it's there. She's going to be hitting her own stone, big rollover to get enough of the buttoned out count. The stone that Vicky Persinger just froze. Rock on the way.
Playing the out turn inside out, trying to get a little bit of a backwards kick.
I started that a little bit. Oh, he was on it. Now he's off it. Maybe. So Over curling on the conservative side, if you call that throw, so it's 1 for Geving Shuster. That makes the score 3-3 after 4 ends. We'll be right back in just a moment with the second half of this game.
But first, it's time for the fourth end break, brought to you by Warm Room Hero, the intuitive curling club software that takes the stress out of schedules, registrations, and more. Warm Room Hero, a platform built for curlers by curlers. Check out Warm Room Hero at curling.club today.
Hit that QR code. Thanks for getting that. Let's say you're in high school and there's a sport you like, but sometimes you think, you know, it might be cool to try a new sport.
Twin Cities Orthopedics is ready to go with more doctors, specialty services, and convenient urgent care locations. Ready, set, TCO.
We're back here, 2023 USA Curling Mixed Doubles National Championship. We've reached the midway point of our feature game, and as you might expect, in a battle between undefeateds, the score is 3-3. There's a look at John Shuster and Aileen Geving during the break they get at the fourth end here at Mixed Doubles. We actually, Tyler, I'll cue a few things up. We'll preview a few announcements from USA Curling. We have an athlete outreach program we're starting for clubs that has been generously funded by a curler who has given to the game over the years a great deal and has stepped up again. We'll have an announcement on that shortly. That should be exciting for clubs. And as I mentioned, Sean and his ICE consultation program, that will be announced later this week as well. Officially, I'm giving a little preview announcement here. So lots of good stuff happening. I'm gonna send out another email this week, Tyler, as soon as I have a moment to finish it up, with some more information for clubs and members. So, 3-3 game for Sean Olson, our USA Curling Chief Ice Tech, with the Burrs behind him. 3-3 game here in Kalamazoo at the Kalamazoo Curling Club.
Yeah, all good things there, Dean. That's obviously I'm all about athlete outreach and getting
getting out to clubs and getting face to face with people and having those relationships that we value so much in the curling community. You know,
That's certainly something you do well, Tyler, and we appreciate that. So, you know, you're out a lot in clubs and talking to people about curling and being a great ambassador for the game, so that's appreciated. Geving, Shuster, opening rock, fifth end.
Yeah, we've seen a few misses at the beginning of the second half of these games on the wide side or heavy side, just with things picking up a little bit after the mop, the same as we see for men's or women's, but no issue there for Geving. Well thrown on that in-turn draw.
A little heavier again than they probably would have liked, but it seems to be the way things are unfolding so far in the game. There's their Aileen, Geving, John Shuster. They don't have a coach at this event, although I heard rumors that Sarah Shuster might step into that role.
Yeah, she is out here for that purpose, and well, to watch as well, but working on some logistics to be official is what my sources are telling me.
That is the case, Tyler. So where has your schedule taken you to this year so far, Tyler? Where have you been?
It would be hard to list all the places where I've gotten to, but the last event, I believe, was Norfolk, Connecticut. My second time out there. That's the best sign is for the sport, Dean, is there's return visits to places that you feel like you're doing something valuable at these clubs that they like to have you back for. And they had a great junior event out there I got to be a part of, and had some fun member experiences as well. And yeah, I got upcoming trips too with San Diego at the end of April. Will be a lot of fun. Working to help them promote their club out there. It's been all corners of the country. I mean, I could list off about 30 clubs I've been to in the last 2 years that, with things opening up a little bit,
right,
the COVID issue is huge. And clubs trying to build that momentum back from places that had their membership grow considerably after 2018, and then growth was stunted a little bit by the COVID situation. Now we're hearing from a lot of clubs, and Marcus Cleaton here from Kalamazoo told us the same, that they're back up to the numbers that they were pre-COVID and going to continue to grow from there. So that seems to be the case in a lot of clubs around the country, that late 2022 is when those numbers seem to start to get close to where they were at before. So the hope is that that continues on this path now, and you know, ideally we can work together on those things too, with the USA Curling, with these outreach programs, the Ice Tech programs, things like that, to help clubs with the things that they need, help them grow, and continue to get those numbers back up for these clubs around the country.
Yeah, I will say our experience with membership rosters has been that most clubs have the programs, et cetera, but we also want to support the sports ecosystem. That's one reason why a number of our events use Bonspiels as qualifier events. Obviously, I think that, you know, a stronger ecosystem, whether it's curling businesses, events, the more we have of that, the better, and the more we can work together. So Shuster now with a big run, trying to make this double, there. Squeezes it out and leaves his shooter right behind the guard. So
yeah, you even got a little Christmas tree effect out of it too. That's really good.
Plys will make his way down the throw. Second shot of this end. So Plys throwing the out turn with some pace.
A little on the wide side there. And doesn't make contact in the house. That's one that expect Chris to make the majority of the time, that out turn up late and sit on cheap. But just a little bit of a flare. And Dean, that's not a shot that has been particularly complicated on this surface. You can really just kind of throw it where you want to hit it, and it's not doing much movement.
Yeah, a lot of curl on draws, of course, but as we like with a championship surface, when you throw it hard, that movement goes away, mainly because most of the curl comes from stones themselves. So Shuster now putting up a guard. You almost have to say, even though it was only Chris's second shot of the end, not making that run back could be the key shot of the end here. Now he'll probably take it on again, Tyler.
Yeah,
Well,
with
let's
where
see
those rocks are set up, it's fairly likely. There's not quite enough of that rock on the top of the 8-foot to make any kind of double playing that in or to stick around. So, yeah, I think Chris will probably try to get all of these going. The only other option would be to freeze on that rock in the back of the 4-foot. This is their second to last shot, and again with mixed doubles, any blank ends up being the hammer switching over. So you're not going to see one regardless with that rock in the back of the 12-foot, so it's kind of hiding back there. But even if Chris makes this, you're only playing for one, so they're playing it safe. So yeah, maybe a little surprised they're not playing the freeze.
Because even if he makes this perfectly, I think you can expect. I think
Good footwork by Vicky there, remembering that rock was behind her.
If you got them all moving, you probably would have seen Aileen Geving just rip out that yellow stone and leave force of one here.
Yeah, I think I probably would have played the freeze there, Dean. Just it's your only chance of scoring two. You're gonna have to score no matter what, and maybe you're a little bit concerned with the fact that there's two undercover and you're drawing against those, but neither one of them was real close to the button, and it's still fairly open and accessible. So if you're going to do that anyways, I think you might as well just try to score two. Instead, now Geving will be throwing another one underneath that guard, and now they're drawing against two in probably a more difficult situation. If Aileen makes this good, then it would have been previously.
Aileen Geving with her team's last shot here in the 5th end, one behind cover. Some of the calculus in that last call might have been related to how difficult the shot that Vicky on the last one.
This is not a good line right now. There's going to be a shot for two after this regardless.
Trying not to leave some kind of double here, and they did.
Now they got a little lucky with where it bounced them too. Now that double is awfully thin, so they may have to just
There's one of those doubles where you sort of throw it to almost miss the stone on the left side as we're looking at it. Just graze it and you can. There is a double for two. Of course, throw it hard, it might spin right up and out, but
yeah, it's kind of a risk-reward shot. It's very difficult not to remove at least one of those stones. So if you do give up the point, you'll be down by one, playing the 6th. But if you take on the double and make it, a 2-point lead with 3 ends to play, is that percentage in mixed doubles of winning the game that much higher with a 2-point lead, that whatever percentage it is of making this shot is worth playing? I'm not certain. Jerry would probably be the one to ask on that. He's sitting 2 people down, but he's got his nose in all the tech.
He hasn't crunched the numbers on this, but the discussion that Persinger and Plys we're having, and we'll see what they decided to take on. Whether they'll be playing the straight draw for one, or we'll take on this thin double for possibly two.
What would you play, Dean? Looks like they are going to play the double.
I think I would take on the double.
Yeah, I agree.
I think the risk rewards calculus is pretty good. I mean, I think you have to play it so you're pretty quiet weight.
Really close to the guard.
Close to that guard. That was the problem.
Boy, that's not the way to miss that one. That's about the only thing you can do on that shot where you have a worst case scenario.
Big steal at two. They're surprised they played that so quiet, to be honest, but steal at two, so that makes the score Geving Shuster up 5-3 as we head to the 6th end. We'll be right back.
The everyday person may not aspire to be a professional athlete or an Olympic athlete. You may just want to be the best person you can be. You just may want to sleep better. You may want to feel better. Thorn has many products that can support all of those things. So it's not just about performing or running faster or jumping higher. It's those little things that go into having a higher quality of life.
2023 USA Curling Mixed Doubles National Championship. Commercial there from our best sponsor in curling, Columbia Sportswear. We're wearing their heat gear right now, aren't we, Tyler? And it's warm.
I'm plenty warm here without, actually.
Yeah, it's a little warmer in here today, but it has been chilly. We also want to thank our friends at Floor Curl. Thanks to them, USA Curling member clubs are entitled to a 20% discount on any Floor Curl inflatable rake set. Said this before, if you add the old street curling kit, these things are a lot easier to set up. They only take a minute to inflate or deflate, and they're the perfect way to promote your club at summer festivals, events, basically anywhere you have a flat surface. Schools are great for it too. No ice required. Visit usacurling.floorcurl.com and use the promo code FC Inflatable 20. That's FC Inflatable 20 to get that 20% discount. Power play in place here in the sixth end for Persinger Plys. Geving trying to play that pick of that stone. Looks like she'll run it straight back sort of behind the corner, so that does create an opportunity here by not moving that corner guard. That's the outcome of Persinger Plys we're hoping for. Now they've got a corner guard with place stone already underneath it.
Yeah, this draw now from Vicky, it looks like they're just throwing to the open side. A little surprised here again. The shot that can kind of kill your end a little bit is that freeze on the rock up in the corner. So usually you see teams go underneath the corner and try to take that away.
Try to choke off that freeze.
Yeah, so throwing to the open side, you want this to be at least full 8 foot, so at least any freeze that your opponent would throw wouldn't outcount this stone. But I don't think that's going to be the case. It's going to just be in the side of the 12 foot. So I'm surprised at two things. One, that they didn't go under the corner guard. Two, that they didn't throw it to full 8 foot on the line they were playing unless it was really narrow. Because you really want that stone to be counting no matter what if you're going to throw open, with your opponent assuredly throwing this freeze now.
I think it was just came up lighter than they would have liked. I think they would have liked it tee or better on that side.
Yeah, even at that though, Dean, on that line, you're cutting yourself out of house. And I mean, you could throw that to the 4 foot. Even I would play to the 8s, but you want to err on the side of making sure that that rock is shot. So any freeze that they throw under the corner, not outcount.
Shuster jumps up. They manage to switch. Now Aileen Geving calling the line. Shuster is playing this freeze.
And needs this to get up.
Just wants to choke it off. Doesn't really need to freeze exactly. If he buries it, he could try to tuck a little bit of it.
A little bit of an error there. The weight was pretty good, but did not get up to that line. And as we're talking about, the reason why that freeze would have been such a huge shot is it's essentially making a double and eliminating both of those yellow stones, because you have to move that red to make both of them count. And that's going to take at least 2 shots to do that with it frozen underneath.
He sort of got caught in between because it was a little higher and made it would be difficult to remove. So now Plys with his first here in this 6th end. Power play on for Persinger Plys. Plys throwing this in turn. Persinger has the brush down.
Looks like just kind of halfway cleaning this one in, trying to roll away a little bit too. Looks perfect.
Roll away and now lie 3, 1 behind cover.
Well, they got a little bit of a break with that freeze hanging out, allowing them to hit and sit 3. And having it sit where it did is kind of like flashing the double if you were playing one, because you really didn't eliminate either stone with the freeze, and now after the takeout they are sitting 3. Looks like we had a 6-point end scored out there, Dean. The Hamiltons, as we were talking about, getting their feet underneath them, and as if to emphasize that point, hanging that 6 to go up 11-3 in their game now.
6, some people call that the equivalent of a mixed doubles 8-ender, which frankly I don't buy into, Tyler, but some people call it that. All right, let's look at the scores from the other sheets. Feature game, Geving Shuster 5-3. If John Shuster tries that hit and roll over, doesn't roll far enough. Geving Shuster up 5-3 over Persinger Plys. Kim Rhyme and Jason Smith, that game is now flipped. It's actually 4-3 for Wheeler over Rhyme and Smith. Fountain Cott versus the Hamiltons, that's where we just reported the 6. So instead of 5-3, that's an 11-3 score over there. So I think we can probably expect to see that one wrap up pretty soon. And 5-2 over on the far sheets between Burr and Skevy Rohrbacher. It's 5-2 for the Burrs.
I love that scoreboard on sheet C too. The 4 1s in a row, the old water torture. Just the one drop at a time. I don't know if I'm dating myself using that. And I'm not using the term as specifically as it was used in the past. I'm not sure if that's PC or not now, but
I think you made a wise decision there, Tyler. And,
you know the how it was originally used. The water torture itself, I think, is fine. I've been in the on the wrong side of one of those during the Olympics completely by accident. Did not even realize until I was told afterwards that's not a term that we can use.
Well, good for you for learning. We can all learn in those instances, right? As Jeff Martin, my friend, would tell me, it's all about learning, not about it's progress, not perfection, is how Deb describes.
Yeah, I'll tell you about that one off the air.
All right. Well, progress, not perfection. That's what we're aiming for. So John makes this double, the thin double there. Loses his shooter, but now Persinger Plys lying one behind the corner guard. We'll see when they put this one.
I would expect that go right under the corner here.
You would think.
Yeah, I mean, you're setting up your 3. It's the only way to do it. So
they drew open earlier, but that certainly wouldn't seem to be the path towards 3 at this point.
Yeah, and definitely a scoreboard play too, with a 2-point deficit. The only way you're getting the lead outside of the completeness from your opponent is to bury back underneath that guard. And of course, is indeed throwing the intern draw. So just trying to nestle that right up to their own, even if it doesn't go all the way to a freeze. If that's about 2 feet short of it and shot underneath that corner, it's going to be really difficult.
Persinger's working pretty hard on this one.
It looks like it should get there still.
Should still get there. Needs a little bit of legs. Let's see if she can. Don't know if it's
that really hit the brakes turning over. It does stop short. Thought that'd glide a little bit more.
So that ends up with now Geving with a good shot can get her team out of this end without a deuce. It's a tricky one, but basically play around. Shot the stone that Chris Plys just left as essentially a tight corner guard. So here we go. Aileen Geving trying to secure a force. There's John Shuster putting the broom down to where he thinks it is at the far end. Of course, nobody at the far end holding a broom.
Now, the one positive thing with that shot from Persinger Plys is they are still sitting 1, and this freeze is a difficult shot getting around that tight guard from Geving. So they still have the opportunity to possibly get their 2 and tie the game unless this is made perfectly around that tight corner.
Not an easy one, but Geving seemed to indicate there was room around the corner, but Shuster here is working hard for weight. Is it going to get there to lie to? Working hard on it now. Can he get it there to be lied to and tuck a little bit of it?
Pretty good sweep to get it to there. Still open.
Still available. There is a possibility of a jam. It's not particularly well, but it looks as though she's got Vicky Persinger will have at least edge to edge, maybe a little bit of error between the short guard and the Shuster Geving stone and the 8-foot. Well, we're going to see another right-handed intern here, Tyler. Your favorite, my least favorite.
Well, I wouldn't call it my favorite. I just
you like it more than the inside-out out-turn.
I dislike it less than the
if
other
I could
side.
throw inside-out out-turn all the time, I think I would have had 12 national championships, Tyler. But somehow they don't let you throw that shot all the time. Got to throw other ones.
I was about an inch away from gassing an out-turn peeler in the semifinal on that inside-out out-turn. So
I do remember that.
Just enough to piece it over.
It's exciting.
Whenever I rewatch that game, I always fast forward until the Schuster shots once they get to the 10.
Here comes Plys now with the brush down. They're going to try to move this Schuster Geving stone enough to score two. He's trying to move it over. It's close though. Just enough.
Snapers by.
Plys knifes it over, so that knots the score up at 5-5 in a good back and forth battle here. It's 5-5 after 6 ends. Schuster and Geving still have a power play. Expect to see that unveiled in this next end. And we'll be right back with 7th end action.
Just because you're not a professional athlete doesn't mean that you should accept less. The beauty about what Thorn does is our product quality is the same whether they're in the athletic line or whether they're just for the everyday person. Thorn has kept true to never compromising on quality, never compromising on efficacy, never compromising on safety for not only athletes but for everyone who would use their products.
'23 USA Curling Mixed Double National Championship. It's Geving Shuster versus Persinger Plys. The score 5-5 as we play this 7th end. Good game so far. Lots of back and forth as we expected. Geving Shuster put the power play in effect. We're new to mixed doubles, and the team has 1 power play per end when they can put up a corner guard. Interesting with the power play, Tyler. It's used as often as not for defense as offense, but here it's an offensive move.
Yeah, speaking of the power play, you need power to fuel your software.
Exactly.
Warm Room Hero is more than just software. It's run by curlers, dedicated to building long-term relationships with your club. Warm Room Hero provides continuous support to ensure your website exceeds your members' expectations. Check out Warm Room Hero today at curling.club for special event pricing.
I will say, knowing the Warm Room Hero developers, Kettle Moraine Club in Wisconsin has used this platform this year. It's been beta tested there, and they seem to really like it. So if anybody wants to talk to a club about the platform, that's probably a good place to start. 7th end, Schuster or Geving goes around that corner guard a little deeper than they would have liked, but protected. And second shot. I think we understand, Tyler, that everybody else can hear the player mics, but we can't exactly. So I'm really wondering why we're not commenting on what the players are saying. That's the case. Really appreciate.
We just don't care what we've heard enough from Chris and John over the years, or some of us have. We don't need to cue in on those things anymore.
Really appreciate all that Curling Stadium has done this year. We had the coverage from the Denver Coliseum. I think curlers across the country have really appreciated the fact that they could.
I'm sure now the mics are back too.
Yeah, they can see all the games. They can see all the games across all sheets. We have a feature game plus 3 others. Certainly been a great way to go. As I've said before, some people ask me, are you going to stream other championships? We would like at USA Curling to stream every championship. Right now we're streaming as many as resources allow. So hopefully going forward, we continue to add to the lineup of events that we stream. Got a couple events coming up, national championships. We have the men's and women's senior world championships starting this next week at the Granite Club in Seattle, and we have the college nationals March 10th and 12th in Bowling Green, Ohio at that club. So some championships coming up. We'll quickly look at the other sheets and the scores. Our feature game here as we're watching 5-5. Moores Wheeler against Rhyme Smith. That's now actually 5 singles in a row. It's 5-3 for Moores Wheeler over Kim Rhyme and Jason Smith. The Hamiltons are still up 11-3, and it's 5-3 for the Birds, Todd and Regan, over scorebacker Skebby. So there's the score updates. We haven't really been able to see much of the Moores Wheeler Rhyme Smith game to see how all these single points have developed. You know, Kim Rhyme is one of the better draw players in the women's game. So she must have struggled a bit with some draws to give up one. Unusual.
Nasty little tap to the dead zone on the power play for Claire Moores on the adjacent sheet. Everybody having a little laugh at that one. Jason Smith raced all the way down the sheet to try to sweep their stone out as Moores bumped it to the back line. Got there just in time to watch it stop. So a little bit of levity on that sheet, and maybe not quite so much for Smitty after those 5 consecutive single points that they faced too.
We had a quick hit there for Marcus Cleaton and his company, the Mimic Agency out here in Southwest Michigan. Marcus was a key figure here in getting this event located here.
Now, Dean, we said that we weren't going to pop his company because he's in Hawaii now, or on his way out there.
Yeah.
All of us are not. So I said, you can put whatever you want in, but we're not guaranteeing that we're going to read it because you're going to be having a nice beverage on the beach. We're sitting here in the booth.
Well, Marcus did too much before he left for me to ignore it, so
Yeah,
it's been a
we
great.
don't have a choice.
It's been a great ally, and he and John Beebe, the club president, really did a lot to make this work. Geving now trying to blade this one over. Close, they hit it and stick around to the line too.
Really nice shot.
Yeah.
I was a little surprised at Schuster's call on that rock on the top of the 12-foot that he hit on his previous shot. Ended up rolling out. And if you get the roll, it's a good result, but kind of a bit of a conservative play opening up the middle trying to roll in. It's a shot that you'd probably play in a men's game or a women's game, but with mixed doubles, with the short end, just getting another counter in, I think probably made more sense. Now, still playing for 2, but they could have drawn under the center, they could have drawn to the open side, they could have gone under the corner, but they were playing a little bit in fear of Plys and Persinger going around their own stone, which would have been a little risky.
Let's listen in as Persinger Plys discuss this. They called a timeout here so we'll listen in as they discuss their options.
They seem to think they can chip that rock out of count, Dean, and stick around.
I mean, they don't have to move it out of the rings, just far enough to make the third, what's now third shot that belongs to them. So I think if they can move that far enough to make the yellow at the back third shot and roll in front of the other red stones along the Schuster Geving, that creates an up. That's their best call. Now the rock is overburied, Tyler.
Yeah, it's even being a little overburied with the distance between the guard and the rock in the house. Shouldn't be any issue getting even the nose of that stone with this weight. So they just like to chip that rock out of count, spin in front of that one in the back of the 8-foot if they can.
Now, trying to get it to curl. He's pretty tight to the guard. He's close to making this just as he drew it up.
Pretty good.
Pretty good result. He does... There's still an opportunity for Schuster, as he noted there, to bring that stone that's currently fourth shot into play.
There's a couple of bad results you can get with this shot, a couple bad spots you can hit it. Cross a little and straight jam on that yellow stone. Then yellow's going to be sitting third count, but the double probably would be there. And if you hang out and jam on your own, obviously not a good result either. But just trying to hit this through that hole, maybe even catch a piece of that yellow one too if you get a little bonus.
They did say dead nose is pretty good. Dead nose or a hair across it, and they will get good enough probably.
There is that dead stick.
That's the result that you were concerned about, yeah.
There's the announcer jinx once again.
John surprised by the amount of curl in that spot on the ice, or how much that curled.
Yeah, you could tell from the urgency of the sweep call on the first call too. You know, knowing John Shuster's sweep calls, as I've heard a million times, you know, there was no easing into it. It was just an immediate have to sweep hard on that first sweep. So it definitely took a jump that surprised both players.
So Vicky Persinger now with a chance to hit and lie 3 for her team, Persinger Plys, and they get out of this power play situation, only giving up 1 at most, probably. Probably rolling even a little bit to the left side as we look at it is pretty good. Now what will looks like they're going to quickly move to the draw.
Yeah, if you absolutely had to have it, it might be a triple there, but a risk-reward shot again.
Yeah, there would be, I think, a triple to at least move that one, possibly block in the very back of the 12 far enough to put that rock that's currently 4-shot into play, but I think they've elected to play the draw.
Both teams with plenty of time on the clock, too. About 4 minutes, 20 seconds for Geving and Shuster, almost 5 minutes for Persinger and Plys.
Listen to that conversation, they may be taking on this hit here, I think, actually. The idea that at worst they get nose.
Yeah, I think they're thinking as long as you don't miss it really badly and give up and steal the 2, then there's not much difference between being down 1 or up 1, but getting the 2 would be huge. You really don't want to be too thin, though. And just ends up okay, so not sure if they were ever playing the double or not, if they're just playing a stick.
Because if they were playing the double, he might have swept that to hit it thinner, I think. But nonetheless, after 5, it's 6-5 now. Geving Shuster up on Persinger Plys. We'll be back with the 8th and no power plays left. But Persinger Plys will have last stone in the 8th end here.
The everyday person may not aspire to be a professional athlete or an Olympic athlete. You may just want to be the best person you can be. You just may want to sleep better. You may want to feel better. Thorne has many products that can support all of those things. So it's not just about performing or running faster or jumping higher. It's those little things that go into having a higher quality of life.
We're back, 2023 USA Curling Mixed Doubles National Championship. Geving Shuster versus Persinger Plys, battle of teammates, and Shuster and Plys. Geving Shuster for the moment up 6-5. This is the 8th end, and you know, we saw that commercial there for Thorne to provide vitamins and supplements. But I think this morning, Tyler, what do we really need?
You know, for these morning draws, Dean, with 4 games to go, you need a little pick-me-up. Sometimes it's nice to wake up to freshness. With Tim Hortons 2 for $6 breakfast sandwiches featuring fresh cracked eggs. Pair with the new vanilla flavored cream cold brew, chocolate cold foam,
or a vanilla flavored latte with chocolate syrup. Thank you to our local sponsor, Tim Hortons, located at 5709 West Niche Avenue near I-94 in Portage. That's 5709 West Niche Avenue near I-94 in Portage.
We're absolutely shameless when it comes to local sponsors, but we appreciate all of them at every event. So we'll have to do some shameless promotion there. But yeah, so Aileen Geving, a hair heavier than she would have liked, chaps off a bit.
I think we might see the same here from Persinger. This really needs to turn over and die, not to bounce off too.
Bouncing off on the high side, so leaves it frozen to the back, almost frozen to the stone in the 8 foot belonging to Geving Shuster.
I think the option probably now would be to tap that rock back, roll in about 6 inches, stay angled to that back yellow stone with both reds. Now you're playing for soft steel, no question, and more so than you would in men's or women's. Stealing in mixed doubles really not all that uncommon. So,
well, it's interesting, the analytics, I think, on the traditional 4-person game, if you're one up without hammer, you're actually more likely to win the game, which I think is counterintuitive to what a lot of people think. Of course, it does depend on level of play, etc. But now Shuster trying to get to the inside of this yellow stone belonging to Persinger Plys, and he does. Definitely Geving and Shuster in control when it comes to angles at the moment, Tyler.
I thought they might tap that a little bit more than they did, but John wanted to leave that kind of locked on a little bit so that they have to move it themselves. They're going to have to move the red anyways, even if they tap that rock back on Shuster's. But now Plys is going to try to play it with a little more weight so both of those rocks move at least to the back of the 4-foot. That red has to go all the way across the fours to get it to the back of the 4-foot.
There's Plys on it early. Vicky Persinger, now she's off. That's right off. Now they want to try to curl it over. Off and on, they must like it.
That's a good shot there. Really
good shot. Moves both Geving Shuster stones to the back of the 4-foot, and now Shuster forced to make this draw. Big shot here.
And another one of those shots, Dean, that we mentioned, that you're trying to put it in a place that's going to take 2 shots to move. So if they put this on the back of the button, frozen, it's not going to be unlocked very easily. But the pin should still be open. It's just a question of, can you fit 2 stones in there like Persinger applies.
John Shuster with his second shot here in this 8th end. Aileen Geving thinking the weight is all there. She said 05, so I gotta believe that's 405 backline to hog.
You can move these a little bit, so you got some margin for error as long as the line's okay.
It's a little more than that, but
yeah, that's unlocked a little now, so that's a little dangerous for Shuster and Geving. You see, John doesn't look too pleased. Those angles now are playing into the favor of Persinger and Plys. If that stone, Dean, that they just bumped back, that's half in the 4-foot on the overhead on the left side. If that hadn't moved back, if it was wedged right between those 2 in the pocket, again, it's going to take 2 shots to move it. Now you can move that stone out of the 4-foot and sit there with backing.
Plys raced down to throw this one. He sees this opportunity.
This is probably the most important shot of the end now. If Plys is able to make this, bump these around, and have those rocks for backing, the angles would be great for Persinger and Plys. Needs to get up a little bit. Now it's curling.
Does need to get inside. Nose.
Pretty good spot. Shuster doesn't have all of that stone in the top of the 4-foot, so if they do want to move them both, they can't play it with a lot of weight.
So they're discussing that double.
in order to move them both, the shooter's going to have to roll away too. So even if that shot's made, Persinger and Plys could still score 2 with their last 2.
Yeah, even if it's made, there's a fairly generous pocket at the back here, which can make it difficult for Aileen Geving to remove a stone with her last one. John Shuster, his last shot of this 8th end. He and Aileen Geving are ahead 6-5, but in a bit of a situation here. He's going to call a timeout, in fact.
I don't believe we'll see Coach Shuster go down to the ice level for this one, as she's still technically not official.
We'll listen in as Aileen and John discuss this.
They are still going to try to move both those yellow stones from the discussion.
Yeah, so Aileen noting that they are second shot at the moment. So I guess another option here, Tyler, might be to freeze on the inside corner of the rocket. Try to eliminate the potential for 2. John loves it out of his hand. Close to making this double, though. It certainly makes the double.
Now the question is exactly how deep do you want to throw this draw? I don't think you want to get all the way back to a freeze, because then refreeze kills your opportunity to score 2 points. I think this is just top button, because if it's any higher than that still, you may not be shot, and Geving could probably play a freeze of her own to that pocket. So top button buried, staggered maybe a little bit.
I'd agree. Half of the button buried. The perfect freeze means, there's an opportunity to freeze back and make it really difficult. Plys, in-turn draw. This is his last shot.
Yeah, this is the correct side to play this too as well. Vicky calling a little tap.
Tapping, so the top button. It looks like it's grinding up a little bit, but
you just got to make sure you don't over curl now too. It looks like it should be all right, at least there.
So for the moment, it's shot, but there is an opportunity here for Geving to move that ever so slightly and be shot, I think, Tyler.
Yeah, I think ever so slightly is the correct term to use. You want to only move it far enough that you're shot, and that's it.
What you have to avoid here is overthrowing it and just chapping off heavy, so difficult, nervy shot for Aileen Geving on her last. John indicating where he threw this shot earlier. Aileen Geving, Shuster Geving's last shot, 8th end. Needs a good one here.
John walking with it for now, thinking it might be a little bit up, so might have to turn it over. Seems to think that it's pretty close on weight.
It does seem close, but it does have some curling to do. Now, can they get to the...
Yeah, it's going to bounce off.
How is that? It looks like it is bouncing.
Looks like that's really close. Maybe still yellow.
Might still be yellow. They think it is.
Thinks so.
I think even if they come to it, it would still be yellow.
Yeah, that rock's not moving, so you could definitely play either turn. You could make it with the in turn and go across the face. You could make it with the out turn, just the clean draw. So there will be a shot for 2 to win this game. It's just a matter of which one Vicky decides she wants to play.
Well, they've reached a decision.
You don't have to get anywhere near that guard to make the intern tap if you need to move that stone. I think that might be the easiest way to make it too, even if you're already shot.
Just come off the red stone that we think is second shot.
Well, they're playing the out turn, so just playing the clean draw, which obviously means they're already shot.
With the distance and the amount of curl, even though it is on that side, they could probably still come to it, I think. Come off it.
It looked like a lot out of hand to me, but
I think Chris Plys would agree with that so far. He's watching it, hasn't laid a brush to this yet.
Starting to turn now. Now it looks pretty good.
Now the weight does look pretty good. Now what happens if they got to get to nose though.
So it did move that Yellowstone a touch.
Now the question is,
oh, I don't want to have to make a call and possibly ruin my perfect record.
I think we're going to have a measure here. Oh,
That
no, John concedes it to yellow. And that'll be the game, and that makes the final score 7-6 for Persinger Plys over Geving Shuster. Good entertaining game here. We can quickly give you updates from the other sheets. The Birds win 8-4 over Rohrbacher's Skebby. And the Hamiltons with a big 13-3 win over Fountain and Cott. And then on our Moores Wheeler, that game wrapped up, and it seems to be, oh no, it's not quite wrapped up. We'll be back here this afternoon. Our game will be, sorry, I'm just
Anderson
checking.
Richardson, Anderson Stupera, the family battle between the sisters.
So yeah, there's Anderson twins against former junior teammates Ben Richardson and Andrew Stoparis. A lot of familiarity on the ice. They're both at 2-1, so it's both. It's an important game for both to really want to secure their path into the playoff round.
Please send your positive vibes to Wayne and Arlene Anderson too. Having to watch their daughters go up against each other this afternoon.
So thanks for joining us for this matchup. We hope to see you back here. We won't see you, but we hope you'll join us again and listen to us this afternoon for that game between the Anderson twins and Ben Richardson and Andrew Stopera. Thanks very much, everybody. Thanks on behalf of USA Curling. Thanks to all our sponsors, Columbia, TCO, Training House, Thorn, Tim Hortons, a local sponsor, and thanks to our partners at Viking Lakes and our partners here on this webcast at Curling Stadium.